Hello, everyone. I am Madab In Min. Today, in our this episode, we have Dr. Tigges to our show. Before we start talking uh, about the details of her experience, the current great work that she's doing, this is a special program, so we are going to conduct the podcast in English, so we can raise awareness to international partners about the situation in Sudan, pertaining the Tigrayan refugees in Sudan, especially given the crisis that is happening in Sudan. Uh, I'm I think they're they're in a very critical time. Uh, as you know, our podcast is aired every Tuesday and Saturday around this time. Uh, we wish you to stick around as Dr. Tigist has a lot of information regarding our brothers and sisters in Sudan. Welcome to our show, Dr. Tigist.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to bring this to light. And is it okay speaking in English, or should we mix it up with Amharic and Tigrinya?
As you wish, but we can stick to English. It's fine.
Thank you.
Awesome. Uh, I'm sure you've seen so much in Sudan the last couple of years. Um, uh, we all Tigrayans, especially, I think we've been through a lot, and especially you, since you've been working with these refugees that fled from Tigray, and I'm sure there are a lot of stories that you want to share uh, about their struggles. But first, people might ask, who is Dr. Tigist? Would you please give us a little bit of introduction about who Dr. Tigist is, how she came to be the founder and president of International Society for Better Health Access?
Yes. Okay. So there's a long version and a short version, and I will do the shorter version. I think
Awesome.
if I say too much, stop me.
That's
Uh,
all good.
Born and raised in Addis. Um, I came here when I was 16 during the communist period and finished high school, medical school research here in the US. Um, I was a diehard Ethiopian. I didn't change my citizenship. I went to Addis to finish, to do all my electives, my externship. And as soon as I could go back and do a nonprofit, we started. I didn't want a nonprofit. I went back to just do volunteer work at hospitals and wherever they would let me.
Mhm.
But eventually, I found out if there are two ways you can work meaningfully in Ethiopia. So either you have to be a business person and investor with capital, or you have to be an NGO. So we decided to create a small NGO just so I can work there. So it was very, very small, and it has been since 2004. So it's going to be 20 years next year. Um, my focus was to work in healthcare because I'm a physician and that's what I do. But after 2 years of it, kind of noticed as a physician, you go, you see patients, you write prescriptions, or you give them medicine you take, and you run out and you use up the little money you have and you run out. When you go back a year later, you're still at the same place.
Mhm.
So we kind of sat back and redefined what does health mean? Is it just taking care of disease or sicknesses, illnesses, and medications, or preventing it, or creating a healthier community? So I like the idea that health should be a more comprehensive approach. So people have to have enough to eat, the kids have to be educated. Once you educate the kids, then they can turn around, take care of their families. And when people live better, they're healthier as a community. So the focus then turned into school, because one, with very small fund, you can take care of a whole village. So I found a village in a place called Jamado, and I only knew about it because my grandmother used to go to a monastery every year, and I knew she would fall from a donkey, or like there's no road. It is up on a mountainous hill. Um, so I visited, and I went to Adwa because my dad was from there. I went everywhere, but Jamado was easy because it was such a tiny community without a lot of infrastructure, and they kind of would let you go with the flow. So that is how it started out. So started out putting second grade, third grade, fourth grade, and kept going. And when we got to high school, they wouldn't let us build a high school because in Ethiopia you had to meet a standard.
Mhm.
At, at that time, you have to have electricity. Education in high school had to include plasma, like the TV satellite.
I remember that. Yeah.
It had to include, so they kind of said no. Yeah. And it was a difficult time because there was really no trust, because they didn't know why I would go work there if I wasn't gaining something out of it. So there was this misunderstanding that the government was paying me to go spy, and it was
In this case, the
Who's
American government,
misunderstanding
right?
the Amhara
community?
community. You have to go through the Ministry of Education, and the representatives were in Kobo and in Gondar. And so it was a tricky situation, but we decided to sponsor the kids to Kobo when they finish high school. And when they went to college, we found sponsors who were in the same field. Like if they went into engineering, medicine, we found somebody to match them to get them through college, because they got a bit more expensive. You have to pay transportation, bedding for their books, and they wanted computers at that time. So it gets, so one-to-one was much easier. So that's what I did until 2010, but COVID had come at that time. So I went to visit, and the schools were closed. When I came back, I was going to go to Mekelle, but I had a fever. So I called, and we had a fight actually at the airport. I said, I don't have COVID, I'm tested. But they said Tigray is so strict about COVID and healthcare. If you have a fever and you have stuffy nose, they don't take a chance. You have to be um, in isolation for at least 14 days. I didn't have 14 days. So I left. I think before I got home, the war started.
Wow.
And I wish to God like I was there, so I could be the voice, and I can tell the testimony, and I could bring what I saw. But unfortunately, I wasn't there. So I missed it. I missed out on that. Um, moving forward, I'm sorry, I'm giving you the long version, huh?
Hmm.
I The war started, and I kind of got into a really deep funk because I never identified as a Tigran. Oh, by then I had gotten my citizenship when Obama got elected
Hmm.
second. But I lost my identity, right? The strong Ethiopian. I would never take any other airlines. Even if I go to Europe, I would find if Ethiopian Airlines was going, because I'm going to help my country, right?
I see.
And all of a sudden, I didn't know who I was. Um, People didn't know I was Tigrayan. I didn't identify as one. I was Ethiopian. I lost all my friends. I couldn't understand why people wouldn't speak against the war and against the atrocities. Um, all of a sudden, I'm a junta. So that was fine by me. But it was, I joined HPN at that time because they were just starting.
Hello.
HBN, the Health Professionals Network, I
Yeah,
believe.
there is some noise, Dr. Tegest. Is it from you? Let's see. There is that static sound. Hold on. Yeah, apparently It's from Dr. Tegest. Can you check? Yeah, some. Did you hear that, Ate? Can you hear
Yeah.
that?
Yes, I can hear it.
There is some. So it seems like until she get the sound fixed, let's give our reflection on Dr. Tegest's Odyssey, if you will, the non-governmental organization Odyssey. Because when I was reading the IHBSA brief profile, it seems like Gemini, at all place, was the more receptive and open to change society. But from what she's telling us right now, even then, she has to build trust because the society or the administrators were skeptical of her intentions and motives. So imagine what kind of obstacles she must have faced across the country.
Yeah.
Specifically, I say in Tigray, why do you think there isn't a lot more NGOs operating? Because Tigist, for all intent and purpose, she might feel Ethiopian, but still she's Tigray. I don't think she would intentionally prefer Wollo or anywhere else above Tigray. What do you think she wouldn't have choose? There are a lot of remote areas in Tigray who are definitely in their situation even at that time. Never mind now we are in a war. But even at that time, there were a lot of people who needed that extra help from Dr.
Yeah.
Tigis and her organization. Why do you think she wouldn't go first to Tigray rather than elsewhere?
You know what? That was one of my questions. But if I were to speculate, maybe it probably would have to do with probably the access she had around her. If she believed that everybody else needs, equal access to healthcare and education, she may not. I mean, Tigray would not be the first. Um, from that perspective, Tigray wouldn't be the first place that comes to mind. Uh, you would probably set your criteria based on what's easier for you to accomplish your task. So, Addis, by I think its proximity to, I mean, ease of access. You can just simply fly to Addis, and any area around Addis Ababa are probably mostly more preferred by NGO
Hello?
organizations for that
Yeah,
reason.
now she's back. Now she's.
I'm sorry, did I lose you?
There was
No.
this very disturbing static sounds coming from you. Um, but were you able to hear us when I was asking Asaf a question? Were you there? Were you hearing us?
No, I think I lost my speaker phone.
All right, I'm gonna
No,
let
no. We can hear it clearly now.
I'm gonna let Asafat finish his
Yeah.
thought, and then I will ask that question to
So,
you
so
briefly.
Are you guys? Do I have a speaker? Because I can't. I can barely hear you.
Yes, we
uh,
can hear you. Can you hear us?
No.
Hmm, interesting. Um,
Let's see.
try to see if you have your
we can clearly
speakers
hear
on.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you clearly.
Hmm. Okay. My volume is up and is on and more setting audio.
More on the speaker setting. The microphone is okay. We can hear you. It's you who cannot hear us, so probably you should work on the speaker, on your computer speaker setting.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's start. So I say keep going. But
Okay.
I think
So,
it's more.
so I
But I
think
want you
I
to.
was trying to say is,
Okay.
um, people generally, if they have that kind of mindset where they think everybody's, everybody deserves access to healthcare. So from her statement, she believed that she was an Ethiopian, and everybody else who is in Ethiopia is an Ethiopian. And also from the mission statement that I saw from her organization, she was actively trying to help East Africa in general and beyond. That's what the statement says. So from that perspective, what you would do as a person is probably you would set certain criteria based on the access to, the amount of fund you have. So you basically uh, setting your criteria and the impact. You're gonna choose. You're gonna prioritize the work you do based on the impact it would bring on the people. So maybe that's how she chose to go to Wollo than Tigray. That's what I'm thinking. Uh, but I'm
Her
sure Dr. Tigris will have her own reasoning
yeah,
as to why she didn't go to Magala instead.
no, she's out. Actually, she specifically put the reason. I was actually asking you the inverse. So she said specifically, Gemini was more receptive and open to change
I see. I
as
see.
opposed to other places in Ethiopia. And my question is, why would the other places be, inhospitable to NGOs? Because clearly, when an NGO comes to a place, more often than not, they are
Oh, that's
trying to
that's a that's actually a very interesting one. I have an idea. I do
I
I
was
do
asking
think,
you
yeah.
specifically on that. So yeah, all
Okay,
right.
I got it. Thank you. So, if you take a look at Tigray in general, the just like business, any type of business, non-profit organizations, there are a couple of them, right? I mean, it's just now because of the war, and I'm sure you know the number of educated people, concerned citizens, and the capability of people is just increasing, that you are seeing budding organizations, non-profit organizations in Tigray. But prior to that, it was really hard to work, especially uh, they would choose you to donate whatever money. I mean, at least uh,
Bas-
channel,
Basically,
funnel the
give
money
us the money
directly
just to
to,
the
to their
work.
organization than do your own thing. You see what I'm trying to say?
They want the money. They don't want you to do the work.
Yes, I
I
think so. I think so.
All right. I see. So Dr. Tigis is here. Can you hear us now?
Yes, yes,
All
yes.
right, awesome. So I was asking a question to Asafa, and you can give me a brief answer on that. Question is that when I was reading at your nonprofit organization's brief description, it seems like you've been traveling across Ethiopia to find a place to work, but out of all the places, Gemino seems to be exceptionally hospitable and open to change. And but what you were telling us a few moments earlier, that there was some sort of mistrust and you have to build a trust with the community and all that. How inhospitable were the other places that makes you think Germany is exceptional by comparison?
Oh
You know
my
what I
God,
mean?
I got in
You know,
trouble with that conversation a few days ago. So I don't think it's the hospitality. So the places I went to, either there was family, friend, someone I knew and I had been there before. So hospitality wise, they were all very receptive. But just coming in for work,
hospitable as opposed to hospitality, because I want to make sure that hospitable
yeah,
in terms of being
yeah,
receptive
yes,
to.
got it.
So that's okay, as long as you know the differentiation.
Yeah.
Hospitality, I think most Ethiopian society will welcome you in a friendly manner. But when you're operating a business, whether it's non-profit or not, that's a different mindset. So were the other places a lot harder than Gemini? Because if there is no trust, how hard can it be more than that? That's what I'm trying to
No, no.
understand.
So the people in Jamado weren't the problem. So I will give you an example. So when I went to Adwa, where my dad was there, number one, everybody was not very happy. I didn't speak Tigrinya, right? Because it was the time when Tigrinya was important, because it was just the war was all over, right? People were more, and to get some work done, you have to do applications, you have to talk to offices, because it was more structured, right? So I'm just going as an individual. At the time, I didn't even have a nonprofit. So Jamed was a village. Can you imagine? Like, it's up in the mountain in the middle of nowhere. Um, they were led just by the Kabali leadership. And it may be because the other places were a bit more advanced and more organized as cities and villages than Jamado was. Jamado was like 300 households. Everybody knew everybody. They just farmed. No, they didn't question anything you did. Does that mean?
So less bureaucracy. That's why it
Yeah,
was
much less bureaucracy. There was
okay.
not
All right.
an office. They will just handwrite stuff with the priest and they stamp it with their finger.
I see. I thought the administration, the local, whether the Kabale or whatnot, I thought the local administration was much more receptive and hospitable than.
No, so there, yeah, no. The local administration is just the local community,
I
not
see.
not not intricate. I
Uh,
didn't. Yeah,
that
yeah,
explains. I see.
yeah,
Okay, that
yeah,
explains.
yeah.
I see.
So, no, they were. So you have to, when you go anywhere, you have to work where the needs are, where the community. So I said, well, how many women die during a year giving birth? So they told me 5 households in a year, and they said, ማርያም አለችን ሰው አይሞትብንም እኛ ማርያም ትጠብቀናለች. In my head, I'm thinking from 300 households, 5 women dying giving birth is not good.
It's a huge percentage for sure.
And so so when I said I want to do clinic, they said nope, we have ማርያም አለች ጀመዶ አለ ምንም አንፈልግም ወፍጮ ነው የምንፈልገው እና they don't really know me, and they just said, and it's very mountainous, like even they farm on mountains, they put rocks, and it's very not friendly, very dry. But they asked this lady, we need wafcho, so you need to give this land to her so we can have wafcho. So they gave her a different land because they didn't have that many flat lands. And this one night, I was there one night. And that's how we started the relationship. So we put the mill, and from the money they made, we said, let's put a classroom. And that's how we ended up forming relationships. But so to get the school, it was a government school. So I had to work with the Ethiopian government, the Ministry of Education.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I see. So amazing. So, but there is also another question that I was curious when I was reading your organization's profile. The inception of your organization, which is in 2004, about almost 20 years ago now, it was because of the HIV pandemic.
Yeah.
So, how do you shift from HIV into building grind mills, education, working with all kinds of how did that translate? Because clearly, I think maybe it might not be that bad, but the need at that time was HIV, clearly, and you are HIV expert by your profession. So how did you shift from that into WAF choice, so to speak?
I think it's what I was trying to say first. So like that, providing healthcare without education, without nutrition, without a community that develops and grows, it doesn't work, right? So I can give HIV medicine all I want, even teaching people how to prevent HIV or adherence. So I would give one person, I would teach them, you can't skip this dose. When I come back, I find out they're both sick because they gave it to a neighbor. They shared it with a neighbor that wasn't sick, right? So education for me was the basics of creating a healthy community. I'll still do medicine, but not as the focal central point.
So more of preventative, more of educational, from even long-term kind of, you're a long-term thinker because education takes a lot of time. Nutrition is a long-term effect. So more from preventative and long-term point of view. That's
and sustainable, right? So if I go take medicine, I used to take 3-4 like luggages of medicine and some money. I'll go through it in less than a week. And then I come home and I leave them where they were, right? It's not sustainable. And you're begging money, you're begging for medicine. But if you educate one of their kids and he becomes a physician, a teacher, whatever they want to be, then they can take care of their families, right? So
naturally, yeah.
yeah. So that's how I didn't think what I was doing as a physician. It was making me feel good because I felt like, oh, I go and take care of people who need help. But that's for the 2 weeks, 1 month I'm there. and I feel good. I come back, go back to my life, and I leave them where they were. And I think creating sustainable change is a huge deal with me. It's the story, right? Teach a man how to fish, not give him a fish,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that's how it started. But I'm sorry, did that answer the question? Or
Oh yeah, it does. It does.
Definitely.
It does.
yeah, so
Uh,
back to our Sudan.
yeah, for sure. This is amazing history. I mean, one would ask, how come I didn't hear about this organization? As you know, in Tigray, we have very few organizations that have been in practice for this long. But most of the new ones, I mean, most of the current active ones that you see are created in probably in the last 4 years since the crisis started.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure your organization would have a lot of experience to share with these organizations. And you mentioned that you worked with HPN, I believe. Uh, Probably the some of the projects that you're working in Sudan would have to be maybe in relations to these Tigray-centric new organizations.
Yes.
So, in terms of experience sharing, I mean, do you have it as part of your probably your mission, your daily work, to be able to think, make these organizations think? I mean, influence them in such a way that they um, create solutions with sustainable development in mind.
Oh, absolutely. I think that so initially, um, number one, working by yourself doesn't really work, especially in a situation like this where the needs are so great and so diverse, right? One thing I noticed the first year was duplication of services. So
Right.
almost everybody wanted to work with survivors of gender based violence, right?
Mm.
Nothing wrong with it, absolutely nothing. But the numbers we have in Sudan compared to the numbers we have in Tigray, um, not comparable, right? So we can hand count, like we can count them. I'm sure there are people who have not spoken because of the shame or the pain or yet, but we can count on all the counts maximum of 35 women. But we have 3 4 different organizations, individuals. They go and we say, what are you doing? This is what I want to do. But because it wasn't, and like to give money to somebody, take pictures and post it, right? After you come back, then what happens, right? So my biggest thing is finding everybody and um, creating a system where we all talk as a group and work together and see together we can make a difference. And people were so welcoming. I love our people. And in terms of coming together and creating, okay, I want to do the business part with the women, I can do the medical part, we can help with the finances. So same with I think I have worked with almost everybody now. Almost, not everyone is interested in joining, but um, Haben to Grai is great. Restore the Motherland is great. Maggie's, My Shoe, Your Shoe. So anybody who does anything in their organizations, I reach out. TDRF gave us a fund, a big fund that made a huge difference. So I think getting everyone together. I don't like the advertisement part. I didn't like taking videos and pictures, but then now after 20 years learning, if you didn't do that, people didn't know you really
Exactly. Yeah.
them in the right
Exactly.
place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I
So,
mean,
do you also venture out to organizations that are not Tigray based?
yes. So, but because the other ones, the bigger ones, the small ones don't really fund outside of US, which is interesting, or Europe. Like I look at all the funds that are out there. And the bigger ones like USAID, UNH, like the bigger ones that have big pockets, they look at your budget, and your budget has to be like $1 million or so I have not met their qualifications yet, but we're writing grants this year
Okay, I see.
to see if we can. My goal is to reach out to those organizations so we don't burn out our community, which has to support their individual families, have been putting out so much for 2-3 years. So yes, that's the goal. But as of last week, things have changed just like they did in Tigray overnight, right?
Yeah, the Sudan situation, it's getting a little more precarious by the day. As you can see, it's almost 10 days since the war broke out between the regular army and the rapid force.
Yeah.
And they are actually duking it out in the middle of the city. So far from what I gathered from the international news outlets, there are about 400 people who are died as a result of this, and about 4 or more thousand people injured. And the fight is continuing. People haven't been eaten for days, and most Sudanese actually they live from hand to mouth. Their survival is on a daily basis. So all the stores are closed. You can't venture out because you might get killed by stray bullets or even by the soldiers themselves. They are not as responsible as they should for their own citizens. So now, yes, everybody is in a bad spot right now. We cannot really comparing one another, but our main concern, because it's dear and near to our heart, is Tigrayan refugees who are there because they migrated from Tigray due to the war. Now they are facing another war, and the country that was really hosting them with care is in its own trouble. So what gives? What are your thoughts? What are you getting from the ground, more than what we can gather from the news? And what do we do right now as a Tigrayan community in the diaspora or even from within?
I'm so glad you brought that up. So our heart was into building businesses. We just started animal farming with our HIV support group in Tenedba. We just handed out the uniforms finally at the school. We're all ready like to set up a farm in Hashaba when this happened. So we have volunteers from here. Two of our dear Zodi's daughters are in Hashaba, and my daughter is in Hashaba right now as we speak. And our headquarters was in Khartoum with Dr. Hailu and everybody else that was helping. But in the midst of it, they managed to make it to Gadaref. Gadaref is still safe. They're so far okay. They have visited the camps, and the biggest worry is WFP, which is responsible for providing the ration. And the food wasn't enough, right, to start with. You just get this 15 kilograms of grain once a month with half a liter of oil. And they just received that. So that is okay for 3 more weeks, I think. But the Sudanese are harmed and they don't have enough, and war is terrible. But we're kind of trying to explain to people when you're in your country and stuff like this happens, you go to your neighbors, you go to a rich uncle, to a farmer, right? Our refugees, they never had anything to save. They don't have families, and they live in a camp where they can't leave as they need, even looking for anything, right? You can't leave the camp without permit. So you have people kind of crowded, 30,000 in one camp, 22 in one. If nothing is going to go in, it's going to be devastating. So what I talked to our leadership in Tigray, and not in Tigray, in Sudan, the biggest thing they want us to do is, just like we were a voice for Tigray during the war, they want us to have a big voice for our people in Sudan, for Ethiopian Tigray government to repatriate people back to home. We talked to UNHCR. If there's permission to accept them, they're willing to take them back and take care of them on the other side. So they want us to be a voice, a big voice, like we did. And I don't know if we are tired or we don't think 70,000 people will be enough to bring our voice, but I don't see a lot of movement towards that. And I don't know who the center of this force is that galvanizes our community when we go for protest. And if we do it in front of the Ethiopian embassy in LA and Washington and say, this is what we need. Because Ethiopia right now are sheltering and accepting and taking tons of foreigners into Ethiopia, but not the Tagaris, not the Tigrayans from the camp. So that is our biggest need from us. The other thing we're trying to do in Gadaref, there is a warehouse that WFP keeps. That's where their food is. I don't know how much is left, but if we don't distribute it early, even though it's not time, it's a matter of time before it gets looted, right? There's really no government. There's war. Looting is already happening in the cities. So we have written a letter with all of us, all the Tigrayan organizations that have registered in Sudan. There's 5 of us. So we are asking if under their supervision, we can take the risk of distributing food. And we're going to do the same to WHO. They have their storage and their warehouse in Gadaref, if we can distribute the medications before the looting starts. But so for our community, it's really screaming to have our refugees to go back home, to get a secure passage for now.
I have a question there, Dr. Tegest. I'm glad we're talking about this. I know somehow recently the activism that was happening has slowed down a bit for some reason. I'm sure coming up online, I mean, getting some media exposure would help a lot. And thank you for doing that. I know you're not good at, you probably don't want that exposure in terms of, because for fear of thinking that it would feel like a self promotion. But this would definitely help, especially most of us, we can only imagine the suffering, the condition these people are in. But give us a little glimpse of what's the daily life, what daily life looks like for an average Tigrayan that lives in any of these camps, the Umra Kuba, the Tenedba, and I think Hashaba, the third one.
Mm-hmm.
There are about 60,000 of them, I believe, based on the UNHCR that I saw.
Yeah.
And also, you can delve into the vulnerable populations, the HIV carriers, and the people that live with HIV. If I am not using the correct term, forgive me. And the students, I mean, I know you're teaching students, about 600 of them. You have a program in Hasheba camp. You have other ongoing programs. So as it relates to the activities that you're doing, you can also add on that aspect. I think that would give our listeners, a view of what life looks like in any of these camps. People think, I mean, we may have a wrong image of what's going on in there.
Yeah. So it's, I would say, first and foremost, I think I honestly would want you to take it to heart. And you guys are so much better than I am in reaching out to people and really fighting for ideas. So I think I don't want the other stuff to take away from the need for us to expatriate and evacuate our people back home. It will be just under UNHCR, the same as they are here, but
Mhm.
safer and at home. So that is one. So going back to the camps, when I first went, we had 4 camps. So there was Hamdayet, and there was Hashaba, Mrakuba, and Tenedba.
Mhm.
And Hamdayet and Hashaba are not considered refugee camps; they're considered reception sites. So um, Hashaba and Hamdayet really border Tigray. So when you come off Tekeze, you land right in Hamdayet, and
Right.
then in Tekeze, in Hashaba. So initially, Hamdayet got closed because the war was intensifying around the border when the Eritreans were going in, and UNHCR felt they couldn't keep people safe on the site. And really, the borders were closed and people were not migrating anymore. Almost all the migration happened the first few months and then stopped, right? It's a tickle, like 6 or 7 a month tickling afterwards. But so Hamdayet closed. So when Hamdayet closed, they moved people to Tenedba and Umrakuba, which really increased the population and almost overcrowded the system. Whatever was available had to go around to accommodate more people. Then we come down to Hashaba. They kept Hashaba going for about a year and a few months, and UNHCR started saying because of Ukraine, they're cutting funding, and it's really not uh, a settling place. It's not a camp. It's a reception site. You need to move. So they had 3-4 meetings, and about 3,500 people, 3,300, I think, refused to move for many, many reasons. It is so close to home. You can walk to Tigray from
Mhm.
there. And a lot of people have left families there. They're waiting. Some people have brought animals and tractors, even though they're not using it. That's the
Right.
only thing they have left with them. So
So they can't
everybody,
move because of
they
that.
because you're leaving the only thing you have hope
Mhm.
for, right? So they didn't want to move, and that all of UNHCR support ended in December. But because it was a reception center, there were no like the NGOs that were doing schools, like the Norwegian Refugee Council, the USA, none of them were there. Um, and we started the school for that reason because our kids didn't go to school because of COVID and then the war, and they were there. And it's a reception center, no schools. And the teachers wanted to volunteer if they found support. So that has gone so incredibly well. I'm so proud of it. It couldn't have been better. We have full teachers like that were teaching school in Tigray, from the principal on to the elementary school teacher. Um, and we have so much support from every community. Um, TDRF gave us $25,000. We bought everybody backpacks. That's what they wanted. And uniforms. That's what they wanted. And we put clean water with filter, and Restore the Motherland bought the water bottles. And Maggie's organization, My Shoes, Your Shoes, bought them their shoes. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody because everybody pitched in. Oh, uh, Denver City Sisters. It's that is not a Tagaro organization, but they did work in Aksum, but they introduced us to digital education. And then Yibra, from his work, got us $5,000 worth of Chromebooks. So we have digital library, we have digital education. Um, we found what Denver, Sisters of Denver gave us, Aksum from Denver gave us the Rachel and the Kindles for, it's amazing. Our school is amazing. But life changed, right? Because now they come to school, they were hopeless, they were in the street, they were nothing to do. It gave the parents hope, it gave the teachers hope. So it was just one school and very little from us. And that was great. Now in December, the only clinic was gonna close. So we took over the clinic, and all our community, like Dr. Tedros and everyone who's around the area, is taking turns working for free, taking care of 90,000 people, including the villagers, because that's the only clinic in the whole community, in the whole villages, 6 villages. But they're all volunteering. The nurses, the pharmacists, they're working for stipend. Amazing people. And the food is stopping, so I don't know. That's what we were gonna work on this month. How do we feed them? Because the food, the ration stops. They don't have land. They can't farm. So uh, right now, that's the most urgent question is how do we feed people, especially the ones in Hashaba, because everything has stopped. The water just ended, clean water. And we're going to see waterborne diseases because people they don't have ways to boil clean filter water and to carry water from Tekeze. So that's huge in Hashaba. So that's what Hashaba looks like.
So, yeah, you explained it in a very detailed and vivid way. But about the repatriation part, though, I have really a question. Do you think repatriating, I know as bad as Sudan is looking right now, at least there are certain, the country in itself, who knows, they have now the 72 hours truce, peace may prevail or it might not, we don't know. But in Tigray itself, there is a huge problem of humanitarian aid. As you know, the Ethiopian government tries everything to choke aid from flowing into Tigray. The infrastructure is completely damaged. All the things that you mentioned right now, they are in a much more disastrous situation than what is currently in Sudan, by comparison, obviously, right? So, and you think repatriating, or the people who are on the ground in Sudan repatriating to their own countries better, or could there be, maybe migrating them to a little bit more secure areas such as South Sudan, Chad, Central African Republic, until things get, a little bit settled and maybe come back to Sudan or elsewhere? Because Tigray itself, as much as it's their country and they have the community and family support system, I don't think that the nutrition, all the basic needs are not there. As it is, the people in Tigray are suffering tremendously. So how do you see repatriation being part of the solution? I'm just trying to
So
understand.
that's a good question. So if you go across the board and ask any of the kids, the little ones to the adults, they will cry and tell you, and that's what I always said too, it's safe here. At least, even though it's not enough, you get some food, you can feed your kids and you can sleep at night, right? But any one of them will tell you, I'd rather sleep on the ground, on the floor, and build myself up from the ground. They want to go home. And the other thing you have to remember right now, they're all under UNHCR Mercy and under WFP, under Save the Children, MSF, right? And all of them had cut down the services, and we were trying to pitch in. HPN is spending $30,000 a month just to help with medications, right? To the camps because there's not enough. So people don't have enough. Families are sending money from here. People are running away. There's human trafficking. I was going to go to the different camps. There's so much human trafficking. People have given up because going hungry, being washed by Gorfasi Mada, like the heat is so unbearable when you don't have clean water. They have lost hope. So they were only holding on by the thread, hoping they can go home. Now, the little that kept them is gone. WFP is closed. 3 people were killed in South Sudan. Not South Sudan, I think Darfur, where were they killed, and their warehouse was looted. So they suspended work. So where's the food gonna come? The port, we can't import food. There's no food to give out. So how is it better for them to be in a foreign country under war, away from home, and locked into a gate? They can't go in and out, right?
Mm.
So for the most part, I think they all wanted to go home anyway, but the fact that this war is going to make it possible, they weren't going to go home for 2-3 years because it has to be done stepwise by strategy. IDPs in Tigray um, had to be dealt with first. So now there's no option. And they don't want to be refugees in different countries being locked into a compound. And we have lost so many young ones to human trafficking because they can't stand it. They run away to Libya. They're lost. We can't find them. So I would say out of all our options, unless we give all 70,000 some pass to fly to Europe, Italy, America, Canada, which I don't see happening, home right now is the best option. The only problem with home, almost 99% are from Western Tigray. And they know going home, they don't have a home to go to. But right now, they don't have a home. They're in a tent. And the same tent will follow them. UNHCR, we have talked to them. They would provide the same support, similar support. And they felt it's easier for them to do it in Ethiopia right now than in Sudan.
So speaking of UNHCR, what is their, I guess, if you will, responsibility in terms of relocating the, I guess, if who is supposed to be in charge of doing this, the repatriation or what have you? If there is, for example, if to Brooks' point, if it's not possible, for example, to locate them to Tigray or Ethiopia, can we hold an organization such as UNHCR accountable for not, keeping this refugees safe?
So I may be
I'm
wrong.
asking this question because I think it would help with the pressure that we need to put as a community. It would help us identify the responsible persons or the responsible organizations.
So I think somebody who has a better understanding of the systems can correct me over the 2 years, because my run-in is because I have a problem and I want somebody to help us and fix it, right? So what I gather from, it's a personal experience, and I Googled it to see who's responsible for what. So apparently nobody has a responsibility. No one. It's all nonprofit humanitarian organizations
So
who help.
mostly, basically, is the country, which is Sudan, right?
Yeah, Sudan. So Sudan pretty much can tell them, like where they gave us the housing, the place where we're sheltered. It's the worst place to shelter humans. It's so far away from everything. The rain, the mud, it's not a livable condition. But Sudan, when they give you a place where you can create a camp, it brings more safety um, to the community, right? So where there's no healthcare, where there's no housing, there's no water, clean water. So it brings more to them. Does that make sense?
I see. I see. So they do it to their advantage. So they,
Yeah, but yeah.
so, mhm.
And if they tell you no, we're not going to accept. Like Kenya, we have people who are stuck in the border of Moyale, hundreds of people. It's so sad because Kenya says you can't come in and they're scared to go back into Ethiopia. So they're in the middle of the border with no support and no one can help them. And I don't know how that works. And we have been trying. We have people who are Eden from UN. She's very, very active, but you can only do so much to push because there's not. Kenya says, I don't want refugees. You can't make Kenya take the refugees.
Yeah, even Italy was, I think, currently closing its borders. Just the sheer amount of immigrants coming to it is just overwhelming it. So definitely that is to be understood. The question we're raising here is basically, yes, there is that emotional attachment to your homeland and all that, but there are times where you have to also look at the alternatives. And let's suppose they are all willing to repatriate to Tigray, whatever the hardship may be. If the road is going to be open, if there's going to be a way for them even to repatriate, that's also a question, because the Western Tigray is now controlled by the Amhara forces and the Eritrean forces. So is that even possible?
So I think
that's also another question that we need to ponder. And the other thing, Dr. Tegest, because of the 2 years and plus that I've seen the international community saying this and coming up short when it comes to action, the UNCHR, they can promise you whatever, but as soon as these refugees repatriate their country, they might say, yep, they are in their country, they're not my responsibility. There's also that element of it. Yeah, you have to remember, right? Once they become in their own country, they say it's the government's responsibility, then, or the Ethiopian government is not allowing us to do this and that, because WAPF tried many times to go to Tigray, right? I say, if you remember, and then all they say was like, the Ethiopian government didn't allow us, or Afar region was blocked, or Amhara region was blocked, and sorry, we can't do anything. So I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm not saying going to Tigray is actually the worst that could happen. But then whatever is being promised right now, it might not really hold up to when it comes to the action. So we should be open to all kinds of alternatives. Africa being Africa, anywhere war can broke out, who'd have thought Sudan would go to this level of chaos? But I don't know. We should be open to all kind of options, but we should pressure more the international organizations. Now, whenever there is a rescue operation going on, maybe those Western countries, they might help them out in terms of repatriating or moving to different places. That's, I know that's a long shot, but
yeah. But so right now the problem is none of the organizations are working because, number one, they're fearing for their well-being. Number two, their warehouses are being looted. There's no real government. Three, nobody is going to take responsibility over taking care of the refugees, right? If there's no food, USAID said they will drop food to Sudan, right? And what does that mean? Who gets it and who takes a share to the refugees? And for us, we can't even get money in because the banks are closed, the roads are closed. And so right now it's life and death in a few days. This information, actually, it's not me. I'm not making this up. They had a meeting for 3 days, all the leadership, and they had gone to the refugee camps, and through the process, I think this is what they came up with. And the reason they want us to amplify this, is part of the Pretoria agreement is Western Tigray being free and available, and um, part of Ethiopia's deal is to make that happen and make it safe for people to go back. So, will they be enough food? Will they be healthier? Will they be enough school? I think that will be after you're alive and out of this, because we can't reach them right now. At least in Tigray, we can move all our efforts and try. I don't know. That's what they're coming up with.
I
What are
see.
you
Yeah,
thinking?
and again, I think it would be unfair to come up with solution on the spot, or even after you thought about it. I'm just saying we're brainstorming here, and our listeners,
Yeah.
hopefully, they will come up with their own uh, kind of initiatives. It's just that it's about exploring all kinds of options, but to to ask you to come up with an answer would be an unfair, actually, for you, unfair to you. So, uh, what can raising aware, as you say, if the international organizations they are living and nobody is taking responsibility, then it can by default it comes down to us then to Greek community in the diaspora, right? It seems naturally is our responsibility. What can we do to elevate the problem there? Is there a way money can be saved? Is there a way uh, some sort of outreach that we can do on our own, I guess, if those big organizations are closing down? How do you see, or what do they tell you, your people on the ground? Your daughter is there, you say that,
Hmm.
and the people who work with your organizations, what do they say? If you ask them what can we do, what is the answer that they give you?
I think
No.
the immediate thing is to be able to get whatever is available in Sudan to the people, right? So instead of getting a 1 month, 15 kilogram supply, whatever we can responsibly distribute if we get permission from WFP. If we get medication from WHO, all our people are volunteers and they're willing to continue work on the ground. Everybody is. There's a Smalash Grant Foundation, HPN, ECDC, ERDA. There's, I'm sure I left myself out. So we are, everybody is willing. And I think the other thing we're trying to do, or we can do, unfortunately, because we can't go in. There's no way to go in. Um, I wish we could, um, but I think we can raise our voice. That's what we can do. I think, and at this point, I think the Ethiopian embassy, for me, and the UN would be the big ones, because Ethiopia is exporting wheat to Sudan and giving medicine, and Tigray doesn't have food and medicine. I don't get it, but
That's so sad.
we can raise our voice.
So speaking of Sudan, I mean Ethiopian government. The current political situation in Ethiopia. You've seen probably the interim president and his team going to Ethiopia. I mean, Addis. Um, they seem to be, I guess, trying to sell the idea of peace has been prevail. I mean, has prevailed. Um, do you think I mean, do you have any contact with the regional government? I think the this initiative could have been maybe facilitated by the Tigrayan government if they asked.
Well, I think part of the ask
Because
is,
they want to showcase, oh, they are good people. Mm, See, we love our people. We're gonna bring them back to Ethiopia.
right, and I think, I'm sure they will be doing that, but I think we need to we need to
We
start,
can't leave it for them. Yeah,
because they're also in a tight spot, right? They have to save 6 million people. They
yeah.
can't. Yeah, like we're just seeing the inkling of.
No, I understand, but I'm just
Yeah,
trying to see if
yeah.
they could simply ask.
Oh
We
yeah.
have this many people in Sudan. At least if they have shared any information with you, the regional government.
I wish.
Yeah,
But I think the people who are in the leadership position in Sudan may have more knowledge.
I see.
And maybe we can invite someone to the show to give
Sure.
us
Oh,
more.
by the way, about the shows, I know this is our very first show with you, and this is our very first, I mean, English mode of instruction, if you will.
Sorry.
So we will try maybe to bring you in a couple of more times if you do us a favor, so we can learn more about your work, your organization, and how people can help you. Our podcast runs for an hour, and we don't want to uh, keep you waiting. But if you have any last words, I know you have uh, volunteers in Sudan, and there are probably from your partners 40 plus partners used to exist there. There are probably a number of partners there with their volunteers as well, especially the Tigrayan volunteers. What are you hearing from them? I mean, uh, I've heard rumors that some of them don't even want to leave the people behind.
Yeah.
They're ready to face whatever comes after.
Yeah. And that is what we were debating about, because as an organization, if you have volunteers that you're supposed to protect,
I
but
see.
you don't put them to safety, then will you exist as an organization? Because we are US based
I
organizations.
see.
So we're trying to kind of gently say we have a lot of volunteers that are refugees that are amazing, from doctors to educators to farmers.
Mhm.
And we are in contact with them. So um, maybe we can do it in a semi-safe way. We can be here protecting and preserving and pushing for better outcome. But some of our volunteers are flat out refusing, and we can't make them leave. And I actually, if I were there, I don't know if I would want to leave.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but do
I can only imagine the
yeah,
pain you would feel after having spent this many years trying to sustain their life. Now knowing that they could lose, I mean, you could lose them in a
yeah.
matter of days for a shortage of food and
Mm,
medicine and what have
mm,
you. Yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I talk so much. I wanted to tell you everything I know. I am so sorry.
No,
But
keep on going. We still have time.
But
no,
but
no,
that's
I want to
but
make
that's
sure.
the whole point. That's the whole point for you to talk as much
Yeah.
as possible so that people can get the whole information. And if you don't promote an idea, if you do not introduce your organization, if you do not make sure that your cause is well understood and well explained clearly, you're undermining your work. So we want you to talk more. We
I'm
want you.
answering questions that people may have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we lost her, right? Is
Well,
she?
that's
No,
yeah.
no, I'm here. I was asking if anybody has a question, something we needed to address through all my talking. And
No, that you nailed most of the things that we need to learn. I don't know if you wanna if you have something that you want to emphasize besides the activism that needs to happen, raise awareness, the situation, especially for the safety of refugees in Sudan. How do people reach out to you, for example? How do they get in contact with you to get more information or to provide help if needed?
oh,
There's also one specific question you can add to that, Dr. Tegest. White is asking, what is the estimated number of remaining refugees across all camps? If you know the number, you can answer that in conjunction with as a first question.
so okay. So to reach me, my personal phone is on 24/7. Honestly, 24/7.
Mhm.
Even if you just want to talk and you're upset about something, if I can provide any emotional support, answers, if I just can listen and be present. So 24/7, I'm on. Um, email is fine. Text is better. Phone calls are good at night. Um, the second question, I'm sorry, I missed you.
the number of refugees.
Oh, the number of refugees. So the registered ones were about 70,000. But I have to tell you, there's so many for so many reasons that have not registered in over 10,000. So, but they're not registered, so we can't access them.
I see.
And they don't want to register because they want to have the flexibility to go home and do what they need. But it's about 60-something thousand left now because the others have left the camp seeking better life somewhere, and some have died, and some, I don't know if it's true or not. They have organ harvesting happening in Libya. Hate the idea of that.
Yeah. We saw a couple of videos actually over the internet, and one was clearly he was injured on his belly, and the guy that was interviewing him, he was telling him he was a TDF, but I doubt. But you could clearly see in his lower belly area some kind of scar, a big scar. That seems to suggest that maybe his kidney was taken out.
Yeah, no, there's a whole lot, and there's sorry, I wrote down what I wanted you to know, but it's like a 5 hour of information, 5 hours I wanted you to know. But when we talk about HIV, so that is my one interest area in the US. I'm so old, I knew HIV before it had a name. I was involved, so I grew up with it, trying to.
It's a lot of wisdom.
No,
experience.
The stigma that comes with it is ridiculous. So my favorite people are organized in Tanedba, and their name is Ba'ana Ibqa.
I see.
And they are out educating, teaching, helping each other. They actually would go bring medicine for people who don't want other people to know they have it, for fear of stigma. They're amazing. But we just found out last year we had 52 new HIV cases in Tanedba alone. And we need to figure out, because when people give up, that's what happens. There's a lot of drinking, there's a lot of fighting, and there's a lot of trauma in the camp itself. And part of it is, it doesn't matter if you're sick or not, right? But 52 is a lot of number in a tiny place like that.
Yeah.
For us to do. And
that's really sad. And these are confirmed. There might be other unconfirmed people.
Confirmed. These are people who actually went and tested. And I'm sure people.
Testing in itself, some people don't want to do that because, just like you said, there is stigma attached to having HIV and all that stuff. So, it's really very tough situation.
Yeah.
But just like Asafa said, anytime you feel you have a message that you wanna express, TPM is definitely an open door. You can come anytime and talk to us. Use the platform to promote ideas. Any last word you want to say before we wrap up this podcast?
I think my last word is, I imagine, because you're on podcast and you know how to use the system computers, you guys are young. I want you to take time to take care of yourselves first. Make sure you're safe. Make sure you're okay. Make sure you take time to breathe, and make sure you reach out. Right?
Thank you, and likewise, you do the same. I don't think it should be age limited, but thanks for the wise words. And everybody, this is it for today. ሎማዓንቲ ብእንግሊዝኛ ኢና ጌርናዮ ምክንያቱም እቲ ፕሮግራምና ናብ ዓለም ለኸ ከበፅሕ እቲ መናእሰይ ኣብ ዲያስፖራ ዘለዉ መናእሰይ እውን ኣብ ሱዳን ዘሎ ኩነታት ተረዲኦም ናይ ባዕሎም እጃም ክዋፅኡን ዓለም ለኸ ትካላት ከይዶም ሓደ ነገር ክገብሩ ብምባልን ያው ኣፍልጦ ንምርካብ እቲ ነገር ካብ ትግራይ ኮሚኒቲ ንላዕሊ ስለ ዝኾነ ኢና ብእንግሊዝኛ ጌርናዮ። ንዝቕፅል መን እዮም ዘሎና ጋሻ ኣሌክስን ሃያሉ ጉረፋይን ራይት ኣሴ ብትግርኛ ክንምለስ ኢና ንዶክተር ትዕግስቲ ድማ ንዝትገብሮ ዝነበረት እስካዕ ሕዚ ትገብሮ ዘላ ንህዝባ ኣዝና ነመስግን ናይ ሎም መዓንቲ ፖድካስትና በዚ ይወዳእ ሰሰናዩ ታንክ ዩ ጋይስ ወዳን
ይቀኒየለይ ሰናይ እንታይ
ምሸት
ልካ ይኸ
okay
I will volunteer to teach you maybe Tigrinya.
Yeah, why not? One word at a time, huh?
أنا ديوديتن كنبتنينا.
يقنيلي ግን በደንብ መዛረብ ክእል ኣለኹ ግን እቲ አክሰንት እናሸገረኒ
accent is okay.
As accent is okay. ንሕና እውን እኮ እንግሊዝኛ ስሩር ኣቢልና ነዛረብ ያ ግን ዋና ነገር distinctively ሓሳብ ክንድሕር ትገሊጽኪ that's all that matters.
እሺ
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tegest.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.